On the paths of existence, many are the questions that visit our souls. Among them, the most challenging and inevitable: what awaits us beyond the last breath? Is death the end, or just a new dawn? These questions resound in our hearts like a call to understand life from a greater perspective. Today, my brother, I invite you to reflect deeply. Let's look with affection at those who have crossed the threshold of matter and returned with tales of a love that is never extinguished. Were they illusions, the fruit of a mind in despair, or glimpses of a greater truth? Time, as a patient master, invites us to understand these manifestations not as mere whims of fate, but as bridges between the spheres of existence. Consciousness is not extinguished with the final breath of the body. Many are those who, in moments of extreme fragility, find themselves bathed in a light that warms their souls, guided by loving hands that once touched their own. Look, how many brothers and sisters return with stories of encounters with loved ones, describing serene faces, words of comfort, and gestures that transcend the logic of matter. How can we ignore the stories of children who have never met their deceased siblings and, on returning from a near-death experience, describe details that only the departed could know? If love overcomes the distances of time, why shouldn't it cross the threshold of eternity? What do you say, my brother? Will you continue to ignore the signs that life offers us? Or will you allow your heart to hear what reason fears to understand? Let's reflect together. Every word shared here is an invitation to open our eyes and hearts to the possibility that life expands far beyond what we imagine. May we walk side by side in this search for truth. Share your thoughts and feelings. For as the gospel teaches, the truth is revealed to those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. What does your soul tell you about the infinity that awaits us? What if, when you closed your eyes for the last time, there was no emptiness but an awakening? What if death, contrary to what we fear, was just a passage, a gateway to a reality beyond human comprehension? Since time immemorial, humanity has pondered this question, seeking answers in religions, personal experiences, and even modern science. But what about you? Have you ever allowed yourself to wonder, not with fear, but with curiosity, what really happens after the last breath? In different cultures, we find a common thread: the belief that consciousness survives the death of the body. In ancient Egypt, there was talk of the Ka, a vital essence that continued its journey beyond the tomb. Spiritism tells us about the continuity of the soul, the transmigration of spirits, the lessons that don't end with the earthly farewell. Science, meanwhile, is advancing in the study of near-death experiences, NDEs, revealing patterns of consciousness that defy materialist logic. What is this invisible bridge between life and what we call the end? Imagine, for a moment, that you wake up in a place where time doesn't exist, where pain and the limitations of the body are distant memories. You feel an indescribable peace, a reunion with those who have gone before you. There is no fear, only the certainty that something greater has always existed, but was hidden from our earthly eyes. Stories like this are told by those who have returned, by those who, for a moment, touched the unreachable and returned to share their journey. If all this is true, then why do so many fear death? Why do we live as if the end were a cancellation and not a continuity? Perhaps the fear lies in the unknown, in the uncertainty of what awaits us on the other side. However, if life doesn't end, if consciousness is eternal, then every act, every choice, and every bond formed in this existence becomes even more valuable. What would you do differently if you knew that the journey didn't end? Death is a mystery, but it doesn't have to be a fear. It can be an invitation to reflect, an awakening to the deeper meaning of existence. If we look at the signs, the stories, the intuitions that visit us in moments of silence, we will realize that death is just one step on an infinite staircase. What lies behind this door that we will all walk through one day? You can continue your journey ignoring this possibility, or you can open your mind to the infinity that awaits us. What if, when we closed our eyes on this world, we open them to a horizon of light? The invitation is made. Explore, reflect, challenge your certainties, and allow yourself to feel that death could just be the start of something much greater. What if the separation between the world of the living and the dead was just an illusion? What if the departed were still by our side, guiding our steps, sending subtle messages in moments of doubt and anguish? Many cultures around the world maintain that death is not a final goodbye, but a transition, a change of state where the bonds of love and affection remain untouched by time. But how can we perceive this connection? How do we know that those we have loved and lost are still with us? The signs are everywhere. A familiar scent that comes out of nowhere. A song that plays at the exact moment we think of someone who has gone. A dream that comforts us with the presence of someone we thought was unreachable. Coincidence or message? The truth is that the universe often speaks to us in mysterious ways. Those who have learned to listen report encounters, inexplicable sensations, a presence that calms and guides. Science is trying to understand this phenomenon. Research into near-death experiences, NDEs, and after-death communication suggests that consciousness can transcend the physical body. Studies indicate that people who have lost loved ones often report vivid dreams and interactions that defy conventional logic. But what really happens? Are our emotional ties so strong that we create these experiences, or is there, in fact, an invisible bridge between the worlds? For those who doubt it, there are countless stories of spiritual reunions. Mothers who dream of their deceased children and wake up with an inexplicable sense of peace. Widows who find lost objects as if they had been left by the departed. Children who speak to loved ones they have never met. Reports like these come from all over the world, crossing cultures, religions, and beliefs. Is this the result of chance or evidence that the connection has never been broken? Have you ever felt that a deceased loved one is still around? Does a memory come back to you in times of need? Does advice pop into your mind when you need it most? Maybe it's just your own mind bringing you comfort. Or maybe it's something much bigger, a call to open up to the invisible, to what defies logic but resonates in our soul. The pain of loss is real, but perhaps separation is not as absolute as we imagine. Love, in its purest essence, is energy, and as such, is never extinguished. If there is one thing that transcends life and death, it is the connection we have with those we love. Perhaps, by opening up our perception, we can feel their presence more clearly. There are moments in life when everything changes in an instant, whether through a near-death experience, an unexpected encounter with the inexplicable, or even a profound insight that arises in silence. These transformative experiences have the power to redefine the way we see reality. But what happens in these moments? Why do some experiences mark us irreversibly, while others go unnoticed? Are they simply coincidences, or evidence of something greater? When we look at the accounts of people who have experienced profoundly transformative events, a pattern begins to emerge, the awakening of a new consciousness. Many describe a sense of oneness with the universe, a keen awareness of the interconnectedness of all things. For some, this occurs through pain and overcoming. For others, it is a moment of pure revelation, as if reality were unveiling itself before their eyes. Modern science has sought to understand these experiences. Studies into neuroplasticity indicate that traumatic or revealing events can reconfigure the way the brain works, leading to changes in personality and outlook. However, there are elements that escape the traditional scientific explanation. How can we explain the cases of people who come back from near-death experiences with information they could never have known before? Are we just scratching the surface of a much deeper understanding of human consciousness? What can we learn from these experiences? The big lesson seems to be the realization that we are more than we think we are. Each story of transformation is an invitation to reflect on our own lives, on how we deal with fear, suffering, and uncertainty. What stops us from transforming ourselves every day? What truths could we discover if we were willing to see beyond the veil of everyday reality? Science and spirituality, for a long time seen as irreconcilable opposites, have been drawing closer together in an attempt to decipher the mysteries of consciousness and existence. But to what extent can scientific explanation encompass the immaterial? And how far can spirituality offer answers beyond physics and biology? Many phenomena considered spiritual defy conventional logic. Near-death experiences, mediumistic communications, and extrasensory perceptions are being studied in greater depth. Quantum physicists theorize that consciousness may not be just a byproduct of the brain, but something that transcends time and space. If this is true, the boundaries of science will need to be redefined to include aspects that were previously considered mysticism. On the other hand, neuroscience has made progress in understanding how the mind works. Consciousness is often attributed to chemical and electrical processes in the brain, and many spiritual experiences can be explained by changes in perception, as in the case of the release of substances such as DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which induces altered states of consciousness. The great challenge is to find a balance between these approaches. Perhaps science does not yet have all the tools to measure and understand the totality of the human phenomenon. Perhaps what we call spirituality is just an unexplored frontier of knowledge. In the end, the search for answers continues, and what we can do is keep an open mind to the possibilities that are yet to come. What if time wasn't a straight line, but an ocean of possibilities? What if, by closing our eyes in a moment of deep connection, we could touch other realities, other existences that coexist with our own? The idea that time is an illusion persists not only in spiritual traditions, but also in theories of modern physics. Some physicists propose that time is just a construct of our perception, and that all realities already exist simultaneously. But if this is true, what impact does it have on our daily lives? Reports of near-death experiences, lucid dreams, and altered states of consciousness often bring the sensation that time expands or disappears completely. At times, we seem to live an eternity in just a few seconds. Could it be that in these moments we are accessing a space where reality folds in on itself and allows us to see what is normally invisible? Throughout history, various cultures have described spaces and dimensions that transcend our understanding of time. In shamanism, for example, it is believed that time is not linear but cyclical, and that it is possible to access knowledge of past or future lives. Similarly, mystical experiences are often described as out of time, where consciousness seems to touch something greater, a reality that cannot be explained by the rules we know. If reality is more malleable than we imagine, then to what extent do our choices shape not only the future, but also the past? There are fascinating stories of people who have experienced premonitions, dreams that herald future events, or memories of something that hasn't happened yet. All this begs the question, are we only living one version of reality, or is there something much bigger going on behind the scenes of existence? Who hasn't felt the inexplicable sensation of being watched by an invisible presence? Who hasn't had a dream so vivid that it seemed more real than waking life itself? Messages from beyond are everywhere, but few dare to listen. Often, the signs come as a whisper, a sudden thought that guides us, a coincidence so unlikely that it defies all rational logic. There are countless stories of people receiving messages from deceased loved ones. Some report hearing soft voices calling their names. Others feel the presence of a love that transcends matter. There are those who, for no apparent reason, find objects that have been lost for years, as if an invisible force were leading them. But what do these messages mean? Are they just fragments of our own consciousness, or a real attempt to communicate from the other side of the veil? Science, although skeptical, doesn't completely ignore these phenomena. Research into near-death experiences shows that many people report encounters with luminous figures who offer messages of love, guidance, and encouragement. Parapsychology investigates telepathy and mediumship as possible forms of communication between dimensions. If consciousness really does persist after death, then why not consider that those we love are still trying to talk to us? Many people ignore these signs, fearing that it's just an illusion or a projection of the desire for reunion. But what if fear prevents us from hearing something that could transform our lives? If messages from beyond really do exist, then what could we learn from opening our hearts to this possibility? Perhaps it's time to stop and listen, to observe the signs and allow the invisible to become part of our journey. What if the pain of loss wasn't the end, but an invitation to see beyond what the eyes can see? Longing can be a heavy burden, but it can also be a bridge to understanding that those we love never leave us completely. How many times do we feel an inexplicable presence, a sign, a dream that comforts us at just the right moment? Is it just the unconscious trying to comfort us, or proof that love transcends the barriers of time and space? In the darkness of doubt, hope becomes a beacon. Reports of near-death experiences, spiritual visions, and unexpected communications show us that there is something beyond what we imagine. Science may not have all the answers, but it has shown that consciousness can exist outside the physical body. If all we are were reduced to matter, then why do so many people have experiences that defy conventional logic? Pain can be a harsh teacher, but also a guide to discovery. Many who have experienced irreparable loss report that, over time, longing changes. It's not that the lack diminishes, but it takes on a new meaning. Instead of paralyzing, it teaches us to move on, to remember with love, and to recognize that every moment lived was a gift that will never be erased. Hope also manifests itself in the certainty that we are never alone. If we open our perception, we can feel the support of a greater force, whether it's called God, the universe, or simply the love that echoes between dimensions. When we allow ourselves to believe that the invisible also has its way of communicating, we come to realize that the signs have always been there, waiting to be recognized. What about you? What does your intuition tell you about this? Have you ever had an experience that challenged your understanding of life and death? Share your story and allow others to find solace in your words too. Because in the end, we are all travelers on the same journey, searching for meaning and hope along the way. If there's one thing we can learn from all these reflections, it's that life is much more than just what we can see and touch. Every experience, every sign, every moment of connection invites us to rethink what it really means to exist. Consciousness, love, memories, all of this doesn't just disappear. Perhaps life is a cycle, not an end point. You've come this far because you feel, on some level, that these questions also resonate in your soul. So why not continue this journey of discovery? Here, we seek to explore themes that go beyond the ordinary, bringing knowledge, reflection, and stories that inspire. And you can be part of it. Subscribe to the channel now. Join this community of truth seekers, where we blend knowledge, spirituality, and the deepest questions of existence. Leave your like, activate notifications, and share this content with those who also wonder about the mysteries of life. Don't let these questions go unanswered. Let's explore the unknown together and open ourselves up to the possibilities that life offers us. The next video may bring insights you never imagined. Are you ready to take that next step? Then click now and join us on this journey.